He's not going to come back unless he's going to come back with a bang and he's looking good. You can believe that.
Michael Jordan today comes back not just to play, but again, aiming to be the best.
Jordan and the Bulls will look to dethrone the defending champion Houston Rockets, a team that has been playing mediocre basketball since the acquisition of Clyde Drexler.
We took a dip, went through a very tough period, had some team meetings, very good communication, and I feel for the last couple of weeks now, we have been headed in the right direction.
Against Philadelphia, the Rockets exploded by scoring their season-high 136 points. Kenny Smith, who's been unstoppable of late, hit 5 3-pointers, while Drexler led 8 players in double figures with 26.
You take it, my friend. 5 slam-a-jam at its best.
Bill Blair's Minnesota Timberwolves had upset the Rockets twice this year, but Houston wasn't going to let that happen again. Sparked by the return of Carl Herrera from injury, the Rockets appear to be gaining momentum heading into the playoffs.
Well, we're hoping we can get a home court advantage in the first round. It'll be tough to catch San Antonio, Phoenix, and Utah, but we know what we can do, and we just want to get the home court advantage in the first round.
On Sunday, Herrera made his first start alongside fellow University of Houston alums Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler, and once again, Houston came out victorious.
Rudy Tomjanovich's team wins its 5th straight.
The Seattle Supersonics were another team who'd been struggling since the All-Star break. Like Houston, the Sonics righted themselves, thanks in large part to Detlef Schrempf, who's been hitting 3-pointers on a record pace.
Over to Schrempf for a 3. Go! Yes, indeed!
Seattle held Boston to just 34% shooting and coasted to a 20-point win. Next, Miami came to town, and Coach Alvin Gentry was left scratching his head as Irvin Johnson paced Seattle's attack.
Drop pass to Gary, ahead to Irvin, has a step to the glass, scores it, he's fouled, and will go to the line.
The stingy Sonics defense allowed just 78 points as they registered their 4th straight win, outscoring their opponents by an average of 24 per game. Against Detroit, Schrempf was again deadly from downtown, raising his average to 69% over his last 14 games.
Detlef was very good. Gary had a spurt early in, I think, the 4th quarter. Irvin was solid. You know, it was good to see him play a special game.
Now, one of the league's most inspiring young players is holding court. At LSU, Chris Jackson established himself as one of the top college guards. By the time he entered the NBA, he seemed ready for the challenge.
You know, this is like a dream come true, and I'm just glad that they picked me, and I'm going to do whatever I can to please them.
But his dream come true quickly became a nightmare as he struggled beneath the weight of superstar expectations.
Chris Jackson denied, rejected by Eldon Campbell.
Each game was a struggle, and Jackson's career seemed destined for anonymity. Out of shape and demoralized, Jackson found himself on the bench, and whispers of a wasted draft pick began to haunt him. But Jackson wasn't a stranger to adversity. Since childhood, he suffered with a nervous disorder called Tourette syndrome.
Tourette's helped me as a person and as a basketball player to understand what it is that I need to do and must do to persevere.
Now at a crossroads, Jackson would need every bit of his emotional strength and resilience to revive what was slowly becoming a failing career. It would take a defining moment to begin the turnaround.
One of my friends, we went to the store one night, and he picked up an article, and it said something, I was a bust, that I didn't supposed to be in the NBA, and it hurt me. And I just looked at him, and I said, from now on, I'm not playing anymore. I'm taking this serious.
Jackson now approached the game with renewed vigor and gritty determination. What followed was one of the greatest improvements that the NBA has ever witnessed.
Chris Jackson on fire! Oh, man. And it is now bedlam here at McNichols Arena. They have tuned in to the new Chris Jackson.
Now fulfilling his great promise, Jackson would capture the NBA's Most Improved Player award. And completing the dramatic change in his life, he would become a Muslim and change his name to Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Coast to coast, Rauf, and a beauty.
A lot of things that I went through as far as first 2 years in the NBA, a lot of the problems that I was having. I think it put things in perspective and made me appreciate more what it is that I have and what I had to go through to get it.
Now firmly established as one of the league's rising stars, this multifaceted player will look to improve upon last season's surprise trip to the Western Conference semifinals and look to elevate this Nuggets team to an even higher ground.
Rauf takes the shot.
Drexler and his teammates were involved in one of the most exciting finishes in basketball history, and in NBA stories, we relive an incredible Nuggets comeback. Trailing by 8 points with only 29 seconds left, Denver made their move.
Back to Rogers. It's a three-pointer, and it's good. Rodney with his second long range. They get the D now. Get a steal. Oh, yeah, they got the steal.
Stolen by Robert Pat. 27 seconds left to Rogers for three. He makes another one. Unbelievable. Jazz lead by 2 points.
And by the Stockton. A steal for Pack. Rodney's got it back. He shoots it Jay in the corner. Good! It's good! Can you believe that?
I never had a moment like that where, you know, it depended on the game. It's easy when you're around the hoop to put it in, but when you're 20, 21, 22 feet away, it's kind of difficult.
At a time when it looked like the game was just over, there's kind of a spark of light. He came down, he just made a three, and we thought it was just routine. When we took the ball out, they turned it over, and he shot another three. And then they threw it back in again. Somehow we got a tip packed through it to Rodney. Rodney fading out in the corner area, knocked down another three. So we're like, yeah, we got a chance.
Unbelievable! I've never seen anything like this. The Nuggets lead by 1.
Despite Rodney's heroic effort, Utah's Jeff Malone connected on a baseline jumper to give his team the win.
Just something you never see. It was almost like it couldn't happen, like a dream or something. But it was just a huge deal for them. We were fortunate to come out with a win.
To NBA action.
Another three-point specialist, Dana Baross, was on fire this week as they put on a spectacular shooting display at the Spectrum in Philadelphia against the visiting Houston Rockets.
Baross to pick from Bradley. Dana for 2, and Baross is hot here in the first.
It was just one of those days, one of those things, you know. It just seemed like everything came so easy for me that night.
Baross for 3. Yeah! Everything that Dana's throwing up tonight is going in.
Little simple things that usually don't mean much seem like would get me wide open, you know, like faking one way, the guy would go 10 feet over that way, and I was wide open.
Much to the delight of the Philly faithful, Baross frustrated a normally stingy Rocket defense as he shot over 80% from the field and nailed 6 three-pointers. There was no question that this was his night.
Dana for the career high. Yes!
Once I had 40, I hit another 3, and I really went for 50 from that point.
There they go. Baross for 50. Yes! 50 points for Dana Baross.
I tried to make that day last, you know, as long as possible and stretch it out. You know, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and I don't think I'll ever experience anything like that again.
And here comes Dana Baross, the career high 50.
Now, Clip is definitely cooking, but in NBA Encore, these guys are making some of their own sweet dishes. Now, does anyone pass better on the break than the Sonics? How about Tim Hardaway?
Slicing through. Oh, what a beat to Gatlin.
Just watch Juwan Howard leave this gift for his good buddy Chris.
There's that presence again. Howard goes, whoa! What a pass by Juwan Howard.
Hornacek showed it. Look at the wraparound. Antoine Carr with the exclamation point.
Hey, those passes were nice, but let's see some guys take it strong to the rack. And nobody does that better than the one and only Shaq.
2 feet back. And there is continuation on that play, baby.
Doug West brings new meaning to dunking on someone's head. And hey, Eric Mobley, you should have stayed in bed.
5 on 3. Hornet Johnson on Mobley. Hello. Whoa.
LJ has won hard charging Hornet, but their point guard causes a little Muggsy mayhem every night.
A steal by Burrell.
And Curry wasn't looking.
All loose at midcourt. Who's going to get this thing? Curry gets it. Marley comes back. Ball has it.
Great play. And Lucky smiling. Great steal.
Curry for 3.
Way to finish.
That was wild, but you haven't seen anything till you've been to the block party. Sean Rook should know better than crossing the lane against the Admiral, and Chris Webber is back with his sweet swat.
Barkley keeps it alive. Rejected by Anderson.
Hardaway now works on Jackson. Backs him in. Quick move to the hole.
Rejected Smith.
Now, defense isn't what it's all about, so let's see some guys twist and shout. Penny got rejected at the block party, but he's made a rim-rocking recovery. And check out this wild child, the Nets' Chris Child.
He drives in deep. He goes underneath. He says, I've never seen him do that.
This week, we take an inside look at what it takes to hit the clutch shot. It's every athlete's fantasy. The clock is winding down, and an NBA championship is on the line.
Goes to Pippen. Pippen breaks inside. Pippen got the shot. They go to Grant. The Paxton. Paxton going for the win. Here's Paxton for three. Paxton. Yes! It's the three. John Paxton nails a three.
You know, when it left my hands, I thought it was good. It just felt great.
To have your number called in that crucial moment is the ultimate compliment.
Here comes into Marley. He turns and shoots. That'll win the game.
To win and have the coach call you a player, and then have your teammates have confidence in you being able to make that shot, it feels really good.
Now Milwaukee will play it for one with a shot at a win. A free try by Baker. Good. Holy cow.
But it is an excruciating amount of pressure, and there's not always a happy ending.
Starks for three. Came up short. And it will go to a seventh and decisive game.
You're in a position to either be the hero or the coach. And, you know, it lies in your hands.
Four. Here's Pippen for three. Again, Scottie Pippen has hit the big shot.
I think it takes a special person to take a shot at the end of the game.
You can feel the drama and the pressure of these final minutes.
To Person, left corner shot. Person, good with 2 seconds left. Indiana leads by 1.
But the way I look at it is the fact that I'm going to make it. Every time I take it, it's going to go in.
Person, screen by Robinson, leads in and got it. He got it.
I look at myself as a clutch player. I like the pressure. When the game is on the line, I want the ball. I'm saying to myself, I can hit this shot.
Anderson is open. Look out. Yes, sir. He makes a long three.
A lot of guys don't want the ball in that situation, and you know it's always the guy who wants to try to get it to, because you know he's hungry.
Baross should know he's bailed the Sixers out of more than one tight spot.
Just made a perfect pass, and I jumped up and caught the ball in the air. I wasn't planning to shoot in the air, just the way it happened. I ended up making the shot.
I think the most joy you get is your teammates, hugging you, and the crowd is into it, and you know that you made, a big shot.
One last chance for the Kings. Gets it back to Mitch. Rhythm dribble three ball up. Good! It's good! The ball game's over.
Well, it's funny. No matter how many game winners you miss,
Snap. You see John?
watch as the winner eat lunch. Got it.
Off the glass.
For 21 months, the sporting world mourned Michael Jordan, and the corporate sector watched in anguish as the most fabulous marketing tool in history proved he was just human.
Off the expressway, over the river, off the billboard, through the window, off the wall, nothing but net.
30, 40, $50 million a year. His income defied belief. As a rookie with the Birmingham Barons, the greatest basketballer ever proved he was just a run-of-the-mill baseballer. The rumours of a comeback had been around for days, and then two words ignited Chicago, and the flicker of hope turned into a global bushfire. I'm back, and America rejoiced.
At Jordan's Chicago restaurant, there was not only March Madness, but Michael Mania.
Michael's coming back. He's going to make the biggest difference in the world for the Bulls. They're instant contenders for the championship.
I think we need him back on a basketball team to get the whole game of basketball back where it should be.
From North Carolina, number 45, Michael Jordan.
Early this week in Indiana, the man who led the Chicago Bulls to the three-peat of NBA championships made his long-awaited and long-prayed-for return. It was a scratchy, somewhat rusty return. The famed number 23 singlet hangs from the rafters of the new United Center in Chicago. This night, the 32-year-old Jordan started a new marketing rush as he donned number 45 for the first time in the NBA. It was his number in junior high school, his number in that ill-fated attempt to break into the baseball big time.
Here's Jordan getting the step. Jordan played by Jackson to the step. Jordan with the turnaround. Jordan still looking for his first field goal. And there
should have my timing back, but, you know, this is not a playoff game, and it's not, you know, I know we want to win, but for me, I mean, I really got to take my time and try to work my way back in.
This was to be no dream return. This was a struggle. There were the occasional glimpses of the Jordan of old, shots like this that brought a tear to the eye and had the heart thumping. 19 points in a losing side was not vintage Jordan, hardly up to the 30-plus average that had him the game's highest point scorer year after year. Later, the immaculately groomed Jordan faced the world's media.
I had a great opportunity to come back. You know, I tried to stay away as much as I could. I mean, the more active that I was, you know, the sports really kept my mind away from the game. And I was really, when I was in baseball, I was a very far distance away from the game. But, you know, when you love something for so long, I mean, when you try to walk away from it, I think at the time that I walked away from it, I probably needed it, you know, mentally more so than anything. But I really, truly missed the game.
On Wednesday night, he made the trip to the Garden in Boston, the place where he battled Larry Bird in some memorable games in the late 80s. This time the arm was working. 9 of 17 attempts from the floor found the basket.
Uh-oh, got a three.
Jordan for three.
Uh-oh. He's going to get caught for an illegal defense if they don't get back to him.
Jordan up and firing, and he hits again. Michael backing Minor, the fadeaway. Jordan continues to shoot well here tonight. He had 6 at Indiana. Jordan.
Oh, he's got that feel. Has he got that stroke down? Somebody's got to get a shot up. Well, we know one guy that can get it up.
Jordan with 2 to go on the shot clock.
That's familiar.
Michael gets a screen from Longley. Now,
Yes, sir. A beautiful play by Jordan. Longley rolling through. He's got 11 points, and they'll take a timeout.
27 points was a bit more like it. A 124-107 Chicago victory was more like it too.
So they played Indiana, and Boston was playing Orlando and Shaq O'Neal on Friday night American time in Chicago. Jordan's first match back. He gave this interview to WGN, the Chicago affiliate.
He's coming home tonight, but this arena isn't really home. I mean, your home is across the street.
Well, the way that I see it is it's the neighborhood. It's the same neighborhood, but it's a different house. And there's a lot of resemblance to my new home or to the old home. But I guess things have changed, and it's pretty modern, and certainly you have to make it your home, and you have to bring some of those pieces from the old place to here just to make it your new home. So I'd rather have the old stadium, but in terms of modifications, I have to deal with this. And for the time being, this is going to be my home until I get comfortable.
So what's your future? How long are you here for?
Well, I mean, I got to finish out my contract, and that's a couple years, I think. And from that point on, I got to evaluate what my interests are at that particular time. And I don't want to look so far in the future that, you know, I'm pressed to live out a certain schedule. My life has always been, and my motto has always been to live it day by day, you know, and not try to think so far in advance that you kind of forget about the present. You know, I want to live for the present at this particular time, and the present is that I'm playing for the Bulls now, and I look forward to finishing out my contract. Now, what happens from that point on, you know, certainly is whatever I feel at that moment.
They couldn't restructure your contract, Scottie Pippen's contract, or anybody else's contract. Were there any stipulations that Scottie and Phil Jackson and you would be together through the duration?
There was a question, certainly. You know, I wanted to know what the status of these gentlemen were. I mean, I wasn't demanding on one thing. I've never demanded since I've been here, and I wasn't going to start at that particular time. Even so, you know, I could have easily, but I've never operated from that angle. You know, and yeah, I asked about Phil, I asked about DJ, I asked about Pippen, Tony, you know, just to see where I stood. You know, and that had a lot to do in my decision making. But you know, I didn't demand these guys to get new contracts or you know, whatever. You know, what all the speculations were. But you know, in terms of myself, I didn't ask for no extra money. I knew I couldn't because of the moratorium, and I came back into my old contract.
This team, you think you can win a fourth title as it's constituted?
Certainly. I wouldn't be here if I didn't.
Tonight is a night that a lot of people in Chicago have been waiting for almost 2 years. What is your feeling going to be like as you wait to be introduced?
The thing that I feel is the crowd and the inspiration that they always have given me in the past, and I don't anticipate being any different. I mean, that's the adrenaline that the home crowd presents to their home team.
I'm a part of this home team now, so I look forward to that adrenaline.
Well, we've just heard from Michael Jordan. Let's now go to the Omni Arena in Atlanta, where Jordan will be playing, along with the Australian Luke Longley, in about an hour's time. Our guest is Neil Funk, the play-by-play radio announcer for the Chicago Bulls from the station WMAQ. Neil, thanks very much for joining us. What was the atmosphere like in Chicago last night when Michael made his appearance?
Well, there hasn't been anything like that really since the Bulls last appeared in the finals, and it may have even been more emotional than that because it was in the brand new United Center, which is the Bulls' new building, and that's the building that people in Chicago refer to as the house that Michael built. So it was a very emotional game, and the crowd was very responsive, especially when Michael was introduced.
And Neil, what about the whole city? What's it been like in Chicago this week?
Well, it's almost had a circus-like atmosphere. The media attention, not just in the last week, but really over the last 2 weeks, has been almost beyond belief. Bigger than anything anyone can remember, especially in sports history. And it's been not just in Chicago. It's kind of gripped everybody involved, especially with NBA basketball across the country.
And what about Shaquille O'Neal, who made his appearance against Michael Jordan last night? I mean, he's the other big star in the NBA, isn't he?
Well, yeah, and Shaquille had a big ball game. He played very, very well, and the Magic, of course, won the ball game. It was a close game most of the way, but Shaquille O'Neal and Anthony Hardaway both played very well in the game. However, after the game, they were both, they were quite clear in their comments that while Michael played and did all right, they still didn't feel that Michael was back at 100% yet, but that he would be.
Do you think he can make a difference? Could the Bulls possibly win the championship?
Well, I don't know if they can win the championship. I mean, you're asking an awful lot over a short period of time. There's just, frankly, there's only about 15 games left in the regular season, and then you move into the playoffs. And certainly, I think with Michael, their chances of going a little deeper into the playoffs are there, but whether or not they can win it all this year, some of the weaknesses that they have still remain.
Neil, I appreciate your time. I know you've just left the Chicago Bulls rooms and they're about to go against Atlanta. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Neil Funk there from